This is gonna be fun. This video, as I'm sure you're already aware, is titled All the Books That I Read in 2022. It doesn't feel like 2023. That feels really weird to say, but here we are on January 1st, 2023. I read 30 books last year, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but with everything going on in my life right now, I feel like that was a decent number. I know that there are lots of other people who read more, but you know, for me and where I'm at in life, 30 feels like a good solid number. 8 of them were memoirs. I love memoirs, so I feel like it's kind of expected. So in January of last year, I only read one book, and that was Fighting for Life by Lila Rose. I remember really liking this book. It's really interesting to hear about Lila's story and where she came from and why she believes some of the things that she does and why she feels like fighting for life is so important. I don't want to rate memoirs on a star level, just because, you know, it's someone's life story. I don't feel like it's my place to rate their life story and their life experience, you know? So I'm just gonna say it's really, really good. I highly recommend regardless of where you stand on the subject. February, I read one book, and that book was A Man Called Uva. This is just so wholesome. Kind of sad, but it was just so sweet. I love hearing older people talk about their lives and things, so I really loved the flashback sequences that we had. It was just so wholesome, and it was really, really good, I think. So in March, I read 0 books. In April, I also read 0 books. I have no idea what was happening or what was going on or why I wasn't reading, but I wasn't. So here we are in May already. In May, I read 2 books, one of which was The Lady's Mind by Francine Rivers. Now, I love Francine Rivers. She's one of my favorite authors ever. This one was a book that I read with my sweet cousin. If you like historical romance, I feel like this is a book that you'll like. I will say it's not one of my favorite Francine Rivers books ever, but it was such a good time. I did really enjoy it. Not like my top 3 favorites of hers, but still really good. Solid read. The next one that I read in May was From the Mouths of Sirens by Abigail Hare. This was one that I just randomly found out about on Instagram. I was scrolling through and I was getting all these bookish recommendations, and I found a video that she had made where she was like going through her characters and making this aesthetic video about her characters and stuff that happens. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And I pre-ordered it immediately. And so when I got it, I read it. And it's like a Little Mermaid retelling, but well done. I'm pretty sure she self-published this. So it's got a few telltale signs, like there's a couple like grammar issues and stuff that I like noticed, but you know, it's really not that big of a deal. It's a really good story, really solid story, and also she designed the cover herself, if I remember correctly. Like, look at this. This is beautiful. It's got like this beautiful texture, and then like this map on the inside. I'm pretty sure she drew these too. Like, madly talented. Like, there's that. Like, look at that. And then all these little, like, she designed those herself. Like, what a queen. We love her. Okay, the last one that I read in May was one that was a little bit unexpected. And I actually made a video of this one, and it was also in my previous video that I made like 3 months ago. It's Lord of the Flies by William Golding. It's in my top like favorite books ever. And not because it's wholesome or cute or fun or any of those things. It's none of those things, in fact. It is very gruesome and realistic and heartbreaking. It's like a classic, and I think that it's just one of those books that everyone should read at least once in their life. So, okay, now we're moving on to June of 2021 or 2022. I feel like I'm in a simulation, you guys. To start off in June, I read Every Falling Star by Sung-Ju Lee. I believe I'm pronouncing his name right. I apologize if I'm not. This is another memoir. It's about Sung-Ju and his life as a child growing up in North Korea. There's just multiple instances of, wow, like, I cannot even imagine some of the things that he went through and he lived through and he witnessed growing up in America and having the privilege of growing up in America, I think it's really good to read about other countries, and it's really important to read stories like Sungju's. So it was really, really good. Highly recommend it. So next we have Death at Thornburn Hall by Juliana Deering. I found this at this just random thrift store in my town, and I would like wake up early in the morning before work to go outside and read this. I really loved it. When I was in middle school, I read all of the Nancy Drew books that I could get my hands on, and so this was just really fun. It wasn't like super hard to figure out the mystery element at the end. It was just this cute little British mystery story, and I liked it. And I will probably read others in the series because I didn't realize this was in the middle of a series when I picked it up, but here we are. Recommend this too if you like mysteries, just fun little cute mysteries. So now we're moving on to July. I read 3 books in July, and to start off, I read Play Dead by Ted Dekker. Now, this is one that I have mixed feelings about. I liked the first 2/3 of the book, and then it just kind of went off the rails, and I don't know what happened, and it started feeling like a fever dream at the end. It was just kind of unexpected, but like not in a good way. You know what I mean? Strange. So next in July, I read Image Bearers by Herbie Newell. I believe that's how you say his name. So Herbie Newell is the president and executive director of Lifeline Children's Services, which is like a Christian adoption agency organization. And I'm really interested in adoption in the future, and I really wanted to learn more about his organization and his heart and why he believes the way he does. Yeah, I picked it up just because of that, and I liked it, and it was good. I recommend it. So next is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I found out about it through Haley Pham on YouTube. I'm a big fan. I think in her most recent video that she posted, she called it like one of her favorite books of the whole year. So I picked it up. I had to read it. It was really fun. It was a good time. A cute, fluffy story. Wholesome. Yeah. And now we're moving on to August. So in August, I listened to on Audible. It was really, really good and narrated by the author, and it's another memoir, so I love when memoirs are narrated by the author. This one was called In Pursuit of Love by Rebecca Bender. I first found out about her from an Anthony Padilla episode, and it was about her story and how she ended up in a trafficking situation. It was really interesting to hear about from the perspective of someone who's been through that and who has, been able to navigate that and heal from that, and ultimately, help others, like start an organization that helps others heal from that. It was really good. I recommend it. So next in August, I read Fear Has a Name by Preston Mapes. Mapes? I guess that's how you say his last name. I honestly hope so. It was good, but not quite as thrillery as I was expecting. This looks like a thriller, sounds like a thriller. It was intense in some scenes. A standard thriller, I'd call it. It was good. It was a fun time. The last one that I read in August was a library book. I'm sure you've also heard of it. It's called Mary Jane. Now this is another one that Haley Pham raved about and said that she loved, and so I picked it up. It just looked really fun and aesthetic, and it took place in the 70s, so I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a good time with this one. But I kind of didn't have a good time. I found all of the adults to be like slightly insufferable. I could not stand them. I thought they were all super dumb, if I'm being honest. I don't know. Take that with a grain of salt. I don't really recommend this one. I didn't get much out of it, to be honest. So, I love Haley Pham, but not this recommendation. I'm sorry. Anyway, moving on. So next in August, I read I Dared to Call Him Father. Pronounce the author's name. I apologize. So I looked it up, and from what I could find, it is pronounced Bilquis Sheik. Yeah, it was really interesting, and I really loved that I got to learn about her life the way I did, so it was really fun. Okay, so the last one that I read in August. August was a good month for me. Look, 5 books in a month is good for me, okay? Lastly, in August, I read Tatler's Branch by Jan Watson, and this was really fun. It was like the perfect time to read it, too, because it takes place in late summer, and I just got all the vibes. All the vibes from this. Like, it was very nice. Like, I could feel, it was very atmospheric. I could feel it very much, like what was going on. So the main character is Lily, and she is a woman doctor in 1911, so that's fun. Yeah, and it's just really interesting, the series of events that happens, and there's like a kidnapping and a murder, and you know, there's all this like different layers of stuff that's going on. So it's really fun. Really fun. I liked it. So moving on to September now. We have Love and Gelato, which is a book I got from our library by Jenna Evans Welch. Okay, so let me tell you how you need to read this book. You need to go on YouTube and you need to search instrumental Italian music and play it in the background while you read, and it will make your reading experience great. I promise you. I've never been to Italy, but I feel like I went to Italy after reading the book, honestly. It's fun. It's a fun little story. I recommend it. It's cute. So the next one that I read in September was another memoir. Wow, surprise, surprise. And it's called Captive in Iran. And it's by Mariam Rostanpour and Marzia. I'm not going to try and pronounce her last name. I remember from the audiobook, it was just kind of long and really cool sounding, but I feel like I'm going to butcher it if I try to say it. So it was really good. It was, again, like a true story of their firsthand account staying in Evin prison in Iran. And it was really good. And their hopeful outlook throughout the whole experience was really inspiring, and I feel like everyone could take something from this book. There's just something for everyone in here, and it's really, really good. Highly recommend. So now we're moving on to October, which was my best reading month of the whole year. I read 6 books in October, so it was good. It was a good month for me. So I read The Atonement Child by Francine Rivers. You guys, like, oh my goodness. I would look up trigger warnings for sure on it, because there is instances of sexual assault and stuff like that at the beginning, but the rest of the book is really just about her healing process, and it sounds really, really good. And I was really kind of cautious going into it at first because I didn't know how she was going to portray the situation and make it turn out the way that it did. I did not fully understand the meaning of the title until the very last, like, 2 sentences of the very last page. My mind was blown. Just was like 2 sentences on the very last page, and it was so good. Francine Rivers is a masterful wordsmith, and I love her so much. But The Atonement Child is, in my opinion, on like another level. I really loved it. It was really good. So next in October, I read A River in the Darkness. This is another memoir by Masaji Ishikawa. This book tore me to shreds. Like, emotionally, I was wrecked by the end. Again, it just blows my mind that places like this exist. And this happened a while ago. By the end, it was just, you could tell that he was tired. It was really, really touching and really moving, and for that reason, I would recommend it. It's definitely not a feel-good story. I felt very just kind of crushed at the end of it. It was very emotionally wrecking for me. But again, I just think it's really important to read about other people and their backgrounds and their life experience. And I do hope that one day Mr. Masaji finds peace and hope and love and comes to find rest. So moving on, we have A Horse and His Boy by C.S. Lewis. This is a reread. I read this years ago when I was in high school, and it was just a good time. I remembered really liking it, and I still really liked it, and I listened to the audiobook version. It was really good. If C.S. Lewis wrote it, I recommend it. The next book that I read in October was Scythe by Neil Shusterman. I have mixed feelings about this series. It's sci-fi, so it's kind of hard to get into. This whole book kind of felt like world building, and you're getting to know the characters, and you're getting to know the government and like what's going on in their world. If you don't know the premise, basically death doesn't exist anymore, and so there's this group of elite society members who are called scythes, and they have the task of gleaning the population, so, you know, population control. So it's kind of like dark, but interesting. Yeah, so there's that. I read this whole series, and we'll get on to the last 2 in a second, but that's this one. Right after that, I also read Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman, which is the second one in the Scythe series. Thunderhead was my favorite out of the trilogy. I thought it was the most fun. I feel like a lot happened in this book. There was a lot of character development. There was a lot that just happened with the plot. It moved really fast. It was really fast paced. The end was phenomenal. It was great. I really liked it, and going into the third one, I was very excited, but we'll get to that in a second. So, also in October, I read At Love's Command by Karen Whitemeyer. First of all, let me start off with, I hate the cover. I hate it. Change it now. So I was told by a very reliable source that Karen Whitemeyer writes similar to Francine Rivers, and I was very excited about this fact. So I go into it expecting Francine Rivers. And I feel like I would have liked it better if I hadn't been comparing it to Francine Rivers the whole time. Did I enjoy it? Yes. I liked the characters. It was a great story, great plot line. Plot twists, great. 10 out of 10. But compared to Francine Rivers, just something missing. Just that extra spice is missing, you know? It was a good book. I'll read other things by Karen Whitemeyer, and maybe we'll see. We'll see if maybe her other books can compare. But I don't know if At Love's Command did. It was good, but not Francine Rivers good. Now we're moving on to November. That was so aggressive, I'm sorry. First one I read in November was A Mission for Meaning by Gabriel Conti. Now, I am such a big fan of Jess and Gabriel Conti, so I wanted to read it just because I wanted to find out more about his personal story and his life and where he came from. And I particularly found it interesting that he included elements of his parents' story in this. It was really good. It was really interesting. And now I'm waiting for Jess to write a book. So Jess Conti, if you're watching this, I know you're not, but if by some random chance you are, I say you should write a book too, because I want to know about your family and your life too in Australia. That sounds so fun. So the next one that we read in November was Fairy Tale by Stephen King. I listened to this on audiobook, the full thing. It was like 24 hours long. It was a chonker, but we got through it, and it was good. It was good. I wanted to read something by Stephen King just because he's such a prolific author, and now I know why. He's very good at storytelling, but I'm not into all of the gore and horror and stuff, so I was not about to read some of the other stuff he's written. But I saw that Fairy Tale was one of his newest releases, and he wrote it during COVID as like a story that would help people escape, like an escapism story. Kind of graphic, and also foul language warning, like golly. Good solid story. I like the main character. I like the dog. Who doesn't like the dog? So the next one we read in November, I'm very excited about this one, was Twin Crowns by Catherine Doyle and Catherine Weber. And oh my gosh, please make this into a Disney movie. So it's about Rose and Ren, and basically they're twins and they're competing for the same crown, basically. But one of them doesn't know the other one exists. So there's all kinds of fun little things that happen. There's twists and turns and drama, lots of drama, some killing, you know. But it's fun. It's a fun time. I recommend it. Next one that I read in November was 1,000 Heartbeats by Kiera Cass. This was so good. I loved this so much. If you're not familiar with Kiera Cass, she wrote the Selection series. Again, let's just appreciate this stunning cover. I think that this probably wins the award for the most pretty cover of the year. Like, this is stunning, okay? Stunning. Beautiful. Look at how pretty this purple is. Kiera Cass can make a beautiful book, and she can also make a beautiful, stunning story. Ah! My stack is falling. Sorry. 1,000 Heartbeats was one that I finished in December, not November. So now that we're clear on that, the next book that I read in December was The Toll by Neil Shusterman. I am so glad that I did not buy the physical copy of this book because I hated it with a passion. The two main characters in the first two books barely appeared in the third one, and when they did, they felt like side characters. So, the last one almost ruined the series for me. Like, if he could have taken the second one and finished it there, I would have been a lot happier than I am now after reading the third one. The next one that I read in December was Hiding in the Light by Rivka Berry. This is another memoir. Surprise, surprise. She's growing up in a Muslim household, and she ends up converting to Christianity as a teenager, and she ends up in like this crazy legal battle. She ends up battling cancer throughout all of it, and in foster care. It was just crazy the amount of stuff that she was dealing with all at the same time. And I'm so glad. I looked up recently some of her life updates, and it was just very, very great to know that she seems like she's in a really good place now, years later after everything that happened. It was very inspirational. I really liked it. So the last one that I read in December was A Lasting Impression by Tamara Alexander. I own another book by Tamara Alexander, and I will definitely be reading it after this one because I thought this was so fun. I really loved this. It tells the story of Adelicia Acklin, who is a Nashville native from like the late 1800s, early 1900s. And it was like so good. Adelicia is not the main character, but she works really closely with the main character. It's like got little pieces of history intertwined into the story, and I thought that was really fun and really cool, especially since Belmont Mansion is like 45 minutes away from where I live, and I did not know that it had that much history tied to it. And Adelicia was like such a strong woman, like to be in the era that she was living in and to have done some of the things that she did was really incredible. I really loved learning about that and learning the history element about it. And now I want to go visit the Belmont Mansion. So it was a great time. And that's all the books that I read in 2022. Again, I'm sure it doesn't seem like a lot to some people. That's what I read, and I'm really proud of it. It's like a good stack of books, and I'm very proud of it. Yeah, thanks so much for watching. Hopefully I'll be making more book related videos this coming year. And I'm very excited for what the new year has to offer. So here's to 2023. Hope you have a great year. Hope you've had a great time watching the video or listening or whatever. And yeah, bye. Oh boy, this is going to be so much fun to edit. It's 53 minutes long.